A second healthcare worker at Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital has preliminarily tested positive for Ebola. These tests will be double confirmed by the CDC in the next few minutes.
Tonight's top story, it is the most topical issue out there right now. The topic of Ebola. Is it really a threat? Should we be worried? Is it contained? Will it come to Canada? These are the burning questions people continue to ask. We don't really have any answers or solutions being provided. Some are saying it's a time of panic and fear. So what are we doing in Canada to contain the spread, keep Canadians safe? Is a travel ban necessary? Edmonton Sun columnist and Straight Talk contributor Lauren Gunter joins me now from Edmonton to discuss. Lauren, you and I were chatting on the phone yesterday. You were on a long drive back home from Thanksgiving vacation, and you were saying to me, I can't believe they haven't put a travel ban in, and yet they just come out and said, we don't need one. How did they arrive at that?
You know what? I don't understand it. We're getting the most feeble excuses as to why a travel ban isn't going to be effective. Now, one of the things that Thomas Frieden, who's the head of the CDC in the United States, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, has said is, well, if we put a travel ban on, it won't be 100% effective. So that's a reason not to put it on. Well, but you know, if you're having unprotected sex, you know, they tell you to put a condom on. It's only 96% effective. No one says, well, I'll go ahead and have as much unprotected sex as you'd like. I mean, it's ridiculous to say that a travel ban isn't necessary because it wouldn't be 100% effective. It would be more effective than pointing laser pointer thermometers at people's heads as they come into airports because they're already in a Western country. It's simply ridiculous. I mean, the Brits basically have a travel ban on from West Africa. Yeah, and so why the Americans don't is absolutely baffling. In all my years of covering public officials, I've never seen such ridiculous excuses made for what seems to be a very common sense act.
And unfortunately, Canada is imitating what the Americans are saying at this point. But here's what the Brits have done. From a Bloomberg News story on what they have been dealing with, if we can bring up that quote board, British Airways stopped flying to Sierra Leone and Liberia in August, and the carrier recently extended that hiatus until March 31st. So from August until March 31st, they won't fly there. Emirates Airlines ended its flights during the same month between Dubai and Conakry, and now, going forward, the travel restrictions are going the other way too. British officials over the weekend told an African-based carrier, Gambia Bird, it could not operate a non-stop flight from London to Freetown, Sierra Leone. I know that we don't have direct flights necessarily going, say, from Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver into Liberia, but there must be a way for us to say we're not going to let you into the country if you are coming from these hotspots. Exactly.
Very easy to do. And you know, the ridiculous things are, I'm glad you brought up Bloomberg News because it reminded me, Thomas Frieden, the man who's behind the U.S. not having a travel ban, and basically we're taking our lead from them, as you say, so he's kind of behind ours too. This is the man who was Michael Bloomberg's public health commissioner in New York in favor of the smoking ban, in favor of banning large soft drinks and frozen slushes. This is a man who has ridiculous ideas about public health, and because he had those ideas, that's why President Obama made him the director of the CDC. And he doesn't think like normal people do. He said yesterday in an interview that, you know, we couldn't have a travel ban because that would make it hard to get aid workers into the affected countries. Pardon me? Who is suggesting it? We're talking about people who are residents of those countries who may have been exposed to victims of Ebola not being allowed to come to North America and Western Europe. That's got nothing to do with aid workers going in and out. He said, well, you know, when he was asked whether or not you could use military transports or charter planes then to get aid workers in, he said, no, that doesn't do anything to stop the spread of the disease. But today, when we have word now that a second nurse from Texas Presbyterian in Dallas has been affected with Ebola, that she flew from Cleveland to Dallas overnight, or last night.
Dallas to Cleveland,
yeah, we were told that he then has an interview today and he says, well, she should never have been on a commercial flight. Our guidelines clearly say she should have been on a charter. Well, how do the charters not work if you're implementing a travel ban, but they do work if you're not implementing a travel? I mean, the man is so politically correct that he's going to cost Americans and perhaps indirectly Canadians their lives because of this silly objection he has to travel bans.
All right, Lauren, we'll have to leave it there, but that's not where we'll leave the topic. We've got a special presentation coming up Friday night, Ebola Global Hot Zone. You can catch it 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern.